Yo, what up? How's it going? And welcome back for another video. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys my top 5 personal comps that I've been using on patch 11.24b in order to climb and all the good stuff. I play in about Grandmaster Challenger ELO. That's usually where I am, about 400 LP. And I gained about 400 LP on this patch. I started this patch at 0 LP. I was just taking it easy. And then I've been using these comps in order to climb. So I wanted to share you guys with the stuff I'm using. So again, these are the comps that I've been using personally. So if you really like Yone or something like that, and that is a comp that is meta, that's not going to be on this list. So just a heads up. These are the ones that I use, and it'll work in your ELO if it works in mine. All right, anyways, cool. And one quick thing before we actually get into the first build is I do want to talk about, the first 2 builds are going to be kind of like standard comps, easier to play comps. And the next 3 comps are going to be, I would consider pretty advanced, pretty difficult to master this playstyle, and they're all very similar. And since they're all very similar, I added an extra comp at the end, so you're actually going to get 6 comps in this video. So now that all the formalities out of the way, let's get into it. So this first build is going to be Jinx, Urgot, Bruisers, and so Crazy Crab. Cool. So our item start is going to be bow, sword, or defensive. If you want to try to play this build in the late game, try to start bow, sword, or defensive. Augments that we want to play with this build are going to be Chemtex. Any type of Chemtech augment is going to be good for you. Twin shot, healing, any type of healing augments like Thrill, Celestial, any type of econ augments are going to be good. And then just the standard meta augments that are good on the patch like Ascension and stuff like that are going to be good, obviously. Okay, early game, you want to play around Chemtex and Bruisers. That is going to be your easiest transition. And you can item hold like Urgot items or Jinx items on any type of AD carry like Trundle, Ezreal, stuff like that. So cool, but the easiest transition is going to be Chemtex Bruisers, but obviously you can transition to this with any early game comp. Late game, we are going to carry Urgot or Jinx or both is what we're going to be doing. And we'll talk about some of their items in just a minute. Lissandra is a spot holder for Yuumi most of the time. So yeah, you just play Lissandra until you hit your Yuumi. Most of the time, sometimes you will keep a Lissandra, like if you are doing like a Chemtech vertical, like you have a bunch of Chemtech augments, or if there are a lot of AD carries like Yone, Fiora, and Urgot in the lobby, and a lot of them are still alive, then you may want to consider keeping a Lissandra over your Yuumi until those players are eliminated or out of your rotation. It's just something to consider. It's not always best, but it is something to consider, keeping a Lissandra over a Yuumi for a while. You can play more Bruisers in this comp if it makes sense. Because if you're looking at this and you're like, oh, there's no sister, we don't have Vi. Jinx doesn't need sister. Just flat out doesn't. Vi is a 2 cost in the end, in the end she's just a 2 cost. So we want to build our late game boards around 4 and 5 cost, and then have supporting units that are 3 cost like Zac and Taric, who are just really, really, really good units. Vi is not that amazing, but again, you can play Vi if you have some like Bruiser augments, or you hit a Tahm Kench and it just makes sense to play around your Tahm Kench. You can play those things, so just know that. And some of the flex spots in this build are like Seraphine is a flex spot, obviously. Seraphine and Taric are both flex spots if the Socialite Hex is just really terrible. But if you're carrying a Jinx, there's hardly any bad Socialite Hexes, especially if you have a GA. All right, so let's talk about the items real quick. So Urgot, GA, if you don't know, just has a very strong interaction on Urgot, and GA is a very flexible item in the late game, so that's why it's a good item on him. Urgot, basically the interaction, if you don't know, if he goes into death while he's casting, he will still continue to shoot. It's really weird. After that, Runaan's his best item. It's not even close. And then his third item is going to be a shred type item like Giant Slayer or Last Whisper, because it is very difficult to get through frontline. Giant Slayer is just kind of like my go-to shred item on this patch. His Bruisers and Colossus are very meta at the moment. Jinx, I do like GA a lot because she does, she de-aggros when she initially jumps up, but a lot of times she'll land and instantly die. So having like a Guardian Angel is pretty good. QSS is a good substitute for this. I do like playing QSS Jinx as well. And then I like Giant Slayer as her damage item. But a lot of items work on Jinx. You can play, you can play the nuke your board AP build, or you can play some more AD items. But I just do GA Giant Slayer +1, and you should be good to go. All right, cool. Let's get to the next one. All right, this one is going to be the standard Jhin build. Obviously, there's other Jhin builds like Jhin Invaders or Sniper Jhin. stuff like that. And you can fit sniper gen in here if you have sniper augments, but this is going to be the standard gen build that you can play pretty much every single game, and you're going to be good to go. Cool. Every single game that is looking like a gen angle, you know? All right, item start is going to be sword, bow, glove, or defensive. Just don't go tier or rod. Although gen can use some tiers, and we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, so augments. We want to take any type of sniper augment is going to be good, like any type of emblem, and sniper's nest is very good, especially if you're going to be carrying a sniper in the early game, and then transition to your gen, and then you can make the gen stacks later. It doesn't take very long to start stacking that damage up, so you don't have to worry about like, oh, I'm losing value by selling my early game sniper. It's all good. Sniper's nest very good. The armor piercing augment, can't think of it off the top of my head. It's going to be very good for you. Any type of healing augment is going to be good, especially it makes it to where you don't have to play BT on gen. You don't have to build BT on gen. We'll talk about it in a minute, but it does help a lot. You can go triple damage without feeling very concerned about your gen's life. All right, econ, any type of econ augments are always going to be good. Dummy frontline's pretty good with gen because gen typically needs, especially if he's solo carrying, needs 2 casts in order to kill the enemy team. So any type of frontline that allows you to do that are going to be good for you. And broken stopwatch. But I only take broken stopwatch, which is one where you freeze time 5 seconds into combat. I only take that one at 3rd augment. It's very difficult to play around in the early game. I mean, you can play like a Camille Zillion and play innovators, obviously, but the problem with that is you don't know if you're going to play gen. You don't know if you're going to hit. And then also the other problem is you're using a gold tier augment in the early game for a late game carry. It's just not very good. So I only take it as 3rd augment. Yeah. Okay, cool. Early game, we want to play around any AD carries. The best one's going to be Trist or Ezreal are going to be the easiest ones to play around, Tristana especially. After that, there's Kog'Maw, Shaco, Samira, and Miss Fortune. I know Miss Fortune is AD, but you can just slam, or she's AP, but you can slam AD items on her, and she'll be pretty strong with it in the mid game. So play around any of those AD carries. Those are going to be the easiest transition. Cool. Late game, Miss Fortune, Leona, and Taric are all flex spots, meaning that they can come out for other units. So just know that, like, if your Socialite Hex is really bad, then maybe Taric isn't a lot of value, but the synergies are very clean. When you add a Taric to your board, Taric is very good. You can play Lissandra, same deal. Play Lissandra until you hit Yuumi. And same deal as the last one is, if there's a lot of Yones and Urgots, maybe consider playing Lissandra a little bit longer, but Yuumi is very good in this build. Play Galio and Seraphine if Socialite is good for gen. So if you hit a lot of Galios and the Socialite's really good, then you can flex those spots in and just fit those however you can. You can side carry Orianna or MF in this build. So if you have extra AP items, whenever you're getting extra AP items, you can just toss them onto Orianna or MF. I don't know why I put an Ionic Spark here. This meant to be a dequal. I'm just putting these here to symbolize you put your tank items onto your Braum or your Galio. Whoever is your big frontliner, you want to put them on there. Cool. All right, let's talk about some items over here because I said I would talk about Gen. So Gen can use a lot of items. I like Giant Slayer. I think Giant Slayer is just super, super good in this meta right now with a lot of bruisers, a lot of colossus, stuff like that. I think it's very, very good. People reroll a lot as well. IE is his best damage amp item for the most part because he does have a guaranteed crit, so it does do a lot of damage, has really good scaling with Giant Slayer as well. And the third item is a complete flex spot. So I like BT. I like blue buff actually. If you don't talk if you don't know on that one. Sojin is fine. GA is okay. And just another damage amp item like a Deathblade is fine too. But typically you just need 2 damage items plus 1 utility is how I like to go. Cool. And then yeah, those are pretty much all the items. Cool. All right, let's get on to the next one. Okay, this is when we start to get into some of the more difficult builds, and I consider these to be a little bit more advanced. The next 3 builds are all going to look very similar, and they are all AP Flex builds. It's AP Flex into legendaries. So I would consider this more of a difficult play style and more for advanced players, or if you're not an advanced player, it may take you a while to kind of grasp how to do this play style correctly. Look, I am 100 LP off Challenger right now. I'm hoping to hit Challenger in the next 2 days, and I have a difficult time running this comp or running these. I haven't fully mastered this playstyle, but I do think it is very good if you master this AP Flex playstyle. So just know that it's pretty difficult to run. Okay, item start. We're going to start Rod or Tier is going to be your best bet. Then really, it's whatever after that, because the whole idea when we play these legendary comps is we just want to play strongest board, and a lot of times that just means defensive items. But in general, we want to go for a Tier or a Rod because we are playing AP. We're flexing around 3 AP carries in the late game. So going AP items can just kind of help you set up and get your items get your items in order and kind of get you away from playing AD carries if you're trying to play this. But again, we're just playing strongest board for the most part. Okay, augments. Any socialite augment is going to be good for you. It especially helps you not to have to play a Galio in your comp. Makes you fit a lot more units if you don't want to play a Galio. Cool. All right, so yeah, socialite, and then after that, it's just really just whatever, because we are trying to play strongest board. So whatever makes your board strongest at the moment, and is something that is going to be somewhat useful to you late game at the very least. There's going to be some good augments. All right, so early game, you just play strongest board. You need a lot of gold and health to hit a legendary board reliably. That's just a fact. That's just a matter of fact. All right, cool. All right, late game. Let's talk about late game. So Galio is the biggest flex spot in this comp. If you have 3 socialite from augments, then you don't need to have a Galio, obviously. Unless he is 2-starred, then obviously you just want to play a Galio and drop Seraphine or something like that. If you play Galio, then Yuumi is your level 9, as this is 8 units, but with a Colossus. So Yuumi is your level 9. So just if you're at level 8, just all of these units minus Yuumi is going to be your board pretty much, unless you have Yuumi 2-star, obviously. Cool. If not Galio, then you can fit Yuumi at 8. So if you don't play Galio, you can definitely fit Yuumi at 8. Play Zyra or a Sandra as a spot holder for Yuumi if you're going to spot hold. Syndicate isn't important if you have 3 socialite. It's better to play better units. So like Echo, much better unit than Echo is infinitely better unit than Shaco, just as a solo unit. And Yuumi is infinitely better than Zyra. So yeah, that's why we're going to do that. Don't worry about playing Syndicate. It's not a big deal. As long as you have 3 socialite, you don't need it. If you don't have 3 socialite, then yes, you definitely need to consider playing Syndicate to get the bonuses on Akali. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it right here. These are the items that I like playing onto Akali. Archangel GA is going to be our best in slot. And then after that, Infinity Edge is amazing on her. Obviously because she is an assassin. And that's pretty much it with this. We're going to talk a lot more about these boards on the next one. Okay, this is Kaisa social. Everything I just said about Akali applies exactly to this board. Looks very similar. The only things that are different is we have a Kaisa and we have a Fiora. Those are the only things that are different here, obviously. If you don't play Galio in this board, then Jace is your level 9. So just know that. If you end up not playing Galio, then you do want to fit a Jace. You can get Enforcer for free. Jace is a very good unit, and you can use him as a frontliner as your main tank instead of Galio. So just note that you can play Jace on this board as well. Same idea, guys. We're playing strongest board into an AP flex in the late game. Whoever you hit Kaisa, do you hit Akali, do you hit Viktor? That's who you play. Cool. GA and Archangel, very good items on her. The reason why GA is very good on Kaisa is because, 1, we're comboing it with an Archangel, and 2, because her ult can actually go through her GA animation the same way as Urgot does, as long as she casts before she goes into the GA animation. And then after that, she has a lot of good items. Morello, actually a pretty good item. Rageblade, very good item. Any type of AP amp is going to be good, like a Jeweled, like a Rabadon's, anything like that are all going to be good. So Giant Slayer is fine. That's why I only put 2 items on her. It's these 2 plus 1 is going to be your best bet, and you're good to go. All right, let's get to the next one. This is same board, but with a Viktor. Cool. I think I have a little bit more info on this one. So same, everything I just said about Akali and Kaisa, about your early game, your augments, your items, all is the same. Cool. On this board, Ziggs is the flex spot. So you may be wondering about like why play Ziggs? There's Lux and stuff like that. Just Ziggs is just really great for your synergies. You don't need damage from another Arcanist. So Ziggs is the best one. Unless you actually itemize a Lux. So if you end up hitting a Lux 2 and you have good Lux items, then you can do a carry like a Lux and a Viktor, but you almost never itemize Lux just because you need your AP items on your Viktor, and then you need tank items for your tanks, so you just don't have enough room to itemize a Lux or something like that. And yeah, so it's not really it. Cool. And Ziggs is just so good for your synergy. Just look what he does. He gives you Scrap, he gives you Arcanist, and just Scrap is like really underrated in late game for a lot of players. So cool. If you don't play Galio, then at 9 you can play more frontline strong units or an additional legendary carry. So just play more strong units. A lot of units fit into this build, so any other legendaries or just more frontline can be good, because Viktor does need about 2 cast in order to fully wipe the board. So you do want him to cast twice, especially with this build. Cool. And then also you can add an additional legendary carry. So if you go 9 and you get some more carry items, you hit a Kaisa 2, or maybe you just hit 1 item. So you can do a carry, a Kaisa and a Viktor, and a or an Akali as well. So same applies to the last two boards as well. Same idea. When you go to 9, you can think about playing an additional carry. But this board, really, it's easy to fit an additional carry. So just keep that in mind whenever you're playing Viktor. All right, cool. Here is the last build we're going to be showing you guys. And I call this just Enchanter Nonsense, because this build is nonsense. You make the enemy not have any fun. I really like playing this build. I've actually been playing this the whole set. But it hasn't really been very good until this patch because they really buffed Ori. So item start is going to be tier, rod, or defensive. Don't go anything else after that if you want to play this build. So early game, you want to play around AP and play strongest board. So just play any AP like, you know, Arcanus, Scholars, that sort of thing. And just play your strongest board to get to here. Because here's the idea. When you're playing this board, I'll talk more about this in a minute, but you don't really plan to play Orianna. You're planning to play Viktor or Kaisa or whoever, or Akali, but you ended up hitting Orianna and hitting a really strong board, right? And then you end up playing Orianna. So the whole idea is like, you don't plan to play Orianna, you plan to play those legendary carries, but you just didn't hit them, and you hit an Orianna too, and you have a really good board that supports it. You have a lot of health. Very consistent board, not a super OP board, but very consistent. So whenever you play this, you are planning to play legendaries, but this is just what you hit. And so you need to think about how do you get legendary ends later. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay, cool. All right, so late game, carry either Ori or Seraphine. I just prefer Orianna, but Seraphine is fine as a carry in this comp, but I do think Orianna is a lot better. Cool, Galio is the flex spot in this board. Obviously, you can just play more bodyguards, you can play 4 bodyguard, you can play more scholars, you can play enchanters. So just the idea, just jam bodyguards, enchanters, socialites, scholars, and you're good to go. Don't think about it too hard. Just whatever you hit really good, strong units, put them on your board. Don't think about it too much. Okay, the game plan should always be if you're going to play this board, the game plan should always be to play this board until you can support a carry like Viktor, Kaisa, or Akali. The build is very good at top 4ing. This build, the way it looks right here, it's very good at top 4ing as long as you have a decent amount of HP going into stage 5, but it is hard to first place if you don't pivot to legendary carries. So this comp usually does really well on stage 5 and then has a very difficult time competing on stage 6. Just because people will be playing legendary carries by then, and just Orianna cannot quite compete with Akali, Kaisa, and Viktor. So every time you play this, you need to be thinking about how do you make a transition to Viktor, Kaisa, and Akali. And the way you make that transition is as soon as you hit those units, you just sell this and put it in there. Keep in mind, sometimes, especially on stage 5, Orianna 2 is better than a 1-star version of the other units, unless like the Socialite Hex is like really bad for Orianna. It's very good for like an Akali, or you just have better items to play other AP carries. But typically on stage 5, I do like to play a 2-star Orianna over those 1-star legendaries, unless the 1-star legendaries I just have a way better board for those 1-star legendaries. But on stage 6, you really need to be playing around some type of legendary board if you're going to be trying to support an Orianna build. So just keep that in mind when you're playing this. But again, very good at top 4ing. Pretty difficult to first place with this comp, but I have like gotten top 2s with this just by an HP advantage and just because the board is strong on stage 5. Cool. All right, that is it for the video, guys. Sorry if I'm a little all over the place. Just haven't been sleeping very well. Kind of pushing through a headache right now. So may have been a little bit all over the place for my taste. But I hope you guys still learned a lot from this, and I hope you guys can use these comps in order to gain some LP and to learn the game a little bit more. But yeah, I appreciate all of you who came by for this video. If you guys want more of me, I stream at twitch.tv/TrajanTFT. And I also upload TikToks at tiktok.com/TrajanTFT. And I have a Twitter that I post on pretty much every day at twitter.com/@TrajanTFT. If you guys want to help me out, if you guys go over there, that's awesome. If not, it's fine. If you guys want to help me out, you can like or comment on this video. Helps me out a lot on YouTube. Doesn't cost you anything, and I would greatly appreciate it. I read all the comments and I respond to most of them. So yeah, if you guys want to drop anything there, I'd appreciate seeing it. And yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. And if you guys are any of my regular viewers, I will be out of town for about 10 days for Christmas. So just know that uploads are about to slow down a little bit. So all right, that's it, guys. Appreciate all of you, and good luck in your games. And hope you have a good night. Hope you have a good day. And wherever you are, I just hope you're doing well. See ya. Bye.